It's time for the September Legendary, and I think we're getting a Red Wind Legendary, so maybe like Soth or Soren, maybe even Elincia, or possibly like Maleir. I don't know. Either way, let's jump in and see what we're dealing with. Oh my god! It's Elincia! Sword Elincia Legendary. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I like the Ascended Elincia art better. Also, I really wish that she was a Staff Legendary instead. I wish they would have swapped it, and they would have made Ascended Elincia the Sword, and then the Staff Elincia the Legendary. I think that would have been cooler. Either way, we have Legendary Elincia after so long. Let's see what she can do. Okay, so let's start off with our preference weapon, Absolute Amity. Okay, so what we have here is we have Canto 2, we have Slaying, we have a dual phase Brave weapon, and then if Elincia is within 3 spaces of an ally, she gets +5 to all stats, and she also gets attack and speed plus X, where X equals 11 minus the foe's max special cooldown count times 2, a minimum of 3. So essentially she does better against units with low special cooldowns, right? So if you're fighting a unit who has like 1 special cooldown because they have Slaying and a 2 cooldown special, she's going to get quite a bit of attack and speed here. Then she also gets anti-guard built into her weapon. Overall, this is a pretty nice nuking weapon, right? It's kind of like Valencia Pala, right, with the Canto. You're obviously not getting adaptive damage, but you are getting anti-guard. And with Slaying, that's really strong because you can spam things like Ruptured Sky, and you get it consistently. So it means if you do hit 4 times, right, you're getting 2 Ruptured Skies always, guaranteed, which is really, really nice. Then we have Dragon Fang, Attack Speed Clash. We have a new B skill, Aerial Maneuvers. Okay, so essentially what Aerial Maneuvers is this is an improved dive bomb. This is like a tier 4 dive bomb. And what it has is essentially has like Ash warping or like Harmonic Sonia warping for the unit themselves. So Elincia is going to be able to warp within 2 spaces of any ally and then 2 spaces of them, right? So you can just go like the big warp, kind of like Guidance 4, but for yourself. It's like the same thing that like Tana has, Rearm Tana. So that's really, really strong. But then you're also going to get the effect is if the foe's HP is above 50% and Elincia's HP is greater than 50%, she's going to inflict speed and defense -4 on the foe, and then she's going to be able to do a follow-up attack before the foe can counterattack. So what does that mean? It means Elincia is a very highly mobile threat. She's going to be able to teleport really far out there and then quad the opponent before they even get a chance to a counterattack, which is really horrifying, right? Because what she's going to be able to do, she has a ton of attack and speed. She's also going to be able to guarantee that she gets 2 specials off if she's running a 2 cooldown special like Ruptured Sky. So that's already really, really strong. But let's see what Heart of Crimea does, her new preference of C-Skill. Okay, so what essentially this does is that you get the Guidance Warping, but it works with any type of ally. So this is essentially an improved Guidance 4 in some ways, because this will allow not only like, you know, infantry, armored, but also cavalry to warp anywhere within 2 spaces of Elincia. She's also going to inflict -4 to all stats on any foe within 4 spaces of herself, which is an absolutely ridiculously massive range. So that's really, really powerful. It's already some nice support right there. But also at start of turn, if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she's going to grant Null Fault to herself and all allies within 2 spaces of a unit. This is some very powerful support effect, right? We already know how good Guidance 4 is, and this is essentially Guidance 4, but better in some ways. Now the thing is that it is an at start of turn effect for the null follow-up. It's not an in-passive like drive like Guidance 4 is, meaning that if you run into something like Duo Thor, it can be turned off. But even so, being able to get null follow-up to everybody, right? All your armored units, all your infantry units, all your flyers, and your cavs, that's really, really powerful because a lot of movement types like flyers and cavs can struggle to get full null follow-up. So being able to give that all out very easily while also giving out guidance and also -4 to all stats, it's a very powerful C-Skill. Now when it comes to Elincia herself, what is the role she wants to play? She wants to be a nuke and she wants to be a support. Those are the 2 things she's going to be doing. She essentially wants to be able to teleport in, do a ton of damage and kill something, get out with Canto, and being able to have that Canto means that she can position very well so that units can follow up after her with that guidance effect she has. So this means that she offers really powerful support, and she's also extremely deadly herself. So the nuke and support role are definitely what she's aiming for. Now when it comes to her damage, I think she's going to be able to put out a lot of damage, but the one thing I have to bring up is that she can't pierce damage reduction. And there's no real way for her to do that as a melee flyer at this point. You really have to rely on like legendary Leer support, which, you know, is definitely like viable, but like it's not always what you want to rely on. You would rather just have that built into your kit. So that's the only thing I'm like really seeing as a downside for like legendary Elincia. Everything else looks really nice. Like she's essentially like a improved Valencia Pala in many ways. Pala obviously gets the adaptive damage, which is really nice, but being able to proc specials is really good, and also being fast, meaning it's much more difficult to kill Elincia, right? Because you're gonna have to be able to double her. And she can also hit 4 times in a row pretty consistently because she is so fast, while Palo really only gets 2 off. So when it comes to like Legendary Elincia, she's just gonna be a very, very powerful unit, especially in our current meta where flyers have really started to like step up their game. In my opinion, like flyers and infantry are pretty much tied for first place as the best movement type because they just offer so much power and they are so mobile. And Elincia is like really following that up with her ability to warp and her abilities to just offer warping to everyone else. Now when it comes to game modes, where is Elincia going to shine? Obviously she's going to be a great arena unit, she's going to score extremely well there. She's also going to be really good in Ether Raid's offense, I think. She could be a great Gale Forcer, you could give her Wings of Mercy and then she can just go in and proc Gale Force pretty easily, though she will have to rely on like Heavy Blade, but being able to give out like, null follow-up to your entire team, allowing them to warp around so it's easier to get into position, and also being able to just -4 to all stats is really nice for Gale Force. Though that Heavy Blade, of course, is a big thing holding her back in that role. I don't think she'll ever really show up on Ether Raid's defense, but maybe you can think of some like really cool, unique like traps with her, so it's not completely impossible, but that's definitely not the main place she's going to end up. And then of course the other place is Summoner Duels, right? Every time they release these more units, they're kind of Summoner Duels oriented, and I think Elincia definitely is going to fit in there. And the reason for that is very simple. When it comes to melee flyers right now, they are very strong in Summoner Duels because they can offer guidance support. And Elincia is not only doing that, right? She's not only offering guidance support, but she's also offering no follow-up support and stat support, while being a very powerful unit who's very mobile and can do a ton of damage. Now the thing is, Elincia will probably be squishy. We obviously don't have her stat line at this exact moment, so we can't say for sure. She may not be the best user of Guard Bearing 4, we'll have to figure that out. But even so, like Guard Bearing 4 gets a ton of damage reduction, so that could be a very good option for her to act as that frontline melee flyer unit, and she might be able to fulfill that role pretty well. And the other cool thing is, of course, is that a lot of teams are like moving away from Bridal Catcher in some ways because there's so many brave units out there, like Legendary Shez, like Brave Soren, right? And so Elincia might be able to fit in very well there because she herself doesn't need catcher support, so she can kind of fulfill that role of that melee flyer who's also offering support and guidance support, right? So I think Elincia actually looks pretty strong here. The only thing that's holding me back on like saying that she's gonna be ridiculous is damage reduction piercing. Okay, let's check out the rest of the banner and see who else is here. Okay, let's talk about the shares for this banner. Let's start off with red because that's obviously the best pool. So in this pool, other than Legendary Elincia, you're also getting Legendary Hinoka and Fallen Crom. And so red is actually completely bonkers. This is an amazing red share. Not only are you getting a very powerful legendary in the form of Elincia, but you're getting another powerful legendary in the form of Hinoka, who is ridiculous. This unit is so good with her charge support and just her ability to nuke. Like the combination of Elincia and Hinoka is actually a terrifying prospect, right? They're going to be able to offer each other so much power, so I think that itself is already really good, but then you consider Fallen Crom, and Fallen Crom himself as a unit is pretty good, but when you consider all he offers, right? He offers amazing fodder and attack speed clash, snag, and infantry speed tactic, but he also has the Arcane Sword, which is a really nice arcane weapon. It's probably like one of the best, top 3 at least. And so having the ability to get that sword while going for Elincia and Hinoka is really nice. And then you also, of course, get skill duplication, being able to duplicate a ton of valuable skills, not only the clash he comes with, but you could put things like Flared Sparrow or other things on him as well. So red is just completely and utterly stacked. In second place, I'm going to say is Colorless. Colorless still isn't the best share in my opinion, right? You do have a really powerful unit like Fallen Maria here, who is one of the best supports in the entire game. She's meta in like every single game mode and is just absolutely fantastic. But then you also have like Goto and Claude. Goto's pretty good, right? Like he can definitely work on like Omni tank teams by giving that AoE damage reduction support. And he also can act as a pretty good tank himself. But then you have Claude, and unfortunately Claude is just aged a ton by now. Like he really needs his remix desperately, especially when you compare him to Windcloth. Like Windcloth just blows him out the water. So Colorless, even though it's the second best color in my opinion, still is kind of lacking. It's still not the best share, and I really wouldn't want to summon here unless you're like a really big Claude fan or you need like merges on these units. Other than that, I would dodge it. And then in third place, we have Blue. Now, Blue, again, like it has a few good units. Gilliam is a very nice near save. He has some good fodder and Vengeful Fighter, and he even gets that IOT shield support, which is very unique, which is nice. And then Noah also offers some support with a dull all support effect and the dodge support, which is also nice, right? And they have like some decent fodder as well. But then you have Saros, who is just like a really dead defense mythic by now. You really don't want to use her ever, unless like maybe it's her bonus season, because she just really doesn't offer much to the team. And so once again, I think blue is not the greatest share. You're not really getting any type of like legendary value or like mythic value out of here. Even if you are pulling for Saros, you really only need 1 copy. Merges don't really help you that much because she's a defensive mythic. And then finally, in last place, we have green. And green is just a terrible share in my opinion. Byleth is still a pretty solid nuke. He can still put in some numbers, but his like no follow-up support isn't very unique anymore. And even when you compare it to like someone like, right, like Elincia, who's also offering no follow-up support, but she gives it to everybody alongside guidance support and stat support, like she just blows him out the water. And then when you have Odor and Dagger. Now Dagger, I have it plus 10, so I can tell you, she's okay. She can work sometimes, she can do okay, but she's not really that great in my opinion, and like, that's definitely not the light mythic you want to merge up to plus 10 if you have a choice. But she can work, so if you need merges on her, there is that. But then you have Odor, and Odor's just bad. Like, there's not much to say. Like, he's a bad defensive mythic. He's bad in pretty much every game mode now. So I would just avoid green if you could. Okay, now let's move on to the Wind Legendary tier list. Okay, so when it comes to the Wind Legendary tier list, I think I'm going to put Elincia into S+ as well. I think she's right there alongside Veronica and Yuri, essentially. It's difficult to say who's the best of the 3, as they all kind of fulfill very different roles, right? Elincia wants to be that melee frontlining flyer, right, who's offering all that support, which is really strong in SD right now. And then when it comes to like Veronica, she can be a very good nuke. She's really good on Ether Raid's defense, but she doesn't really fulfill into summer duels at the moment because guidance has kind of taken over the mobility support right now. And then Yuri's kind of in that same situation where he can work really well in summer duels because he can use guidance support and stuff like that. And he can also do well in like Ether Raid's offense, like hit and run and stuff. So I think they're all pretty close to equal when it comes to the S+ rank. And it just depends on like what game mode you're playing in and what kind of role you need for that unit. Down in S tier, I actually moved some units down. I think Eliwood has gotten a little bit weaker over time. There's been a lot more ways to get that dull all effect, which can turn off bonus doubler, and we just did get defense res plays 3, which just completely turns off bonus doubler, treachery, and grand strategy. So I'm gonna put him down a little bit lower. Same with Myr. Myr's still like a really solid anti-warp support unit, and she can work well in summoner duels, but I do think that Gatekeeper kind of stole that niche a little bit more in like game modes like Ether Raid's offense. And technically you can use him in summer duels. I'm not really the biggest fan still, but it is, you know, a possibility, as he does offer some really powerful support with the plus $5 stats and healing as well. Other than that, everybody else kind of moved around a little bit. I put Lyn back up because physical no follow-up really has helped her out a ton. It's made Lyn a lot more viable, as she really doesn't need to rely on specials with like something like Special Spiral 4, so it just allows her to do a lot more damage, and that feud effect is really, really nice as well. And then I moved Corrin down to B, but don't worry, Corrin should be getting her refine and remix, I think, at the beginning of next year. Okay, let's move on to the final question. Should you pull? Now, when it comes to this question, this is a really difficult one to say, and the reason why is because there are some great pros here, right? There's an amazing red shear. Hinoka has proven to be one of the best units in the entire game, so being able to pick her up alongside this new legendary of Elincia, who seems to be very, very good for that melee frontline flyer role that has become very meta, and at the same time being able to get possibly, you know, Fallen Crom and duplicates is really, really, really nice. But unfortunately, that's pretty much where all the pros end, because when it comes to cons, you're looking at the rest of the banner and it kind of sucks, to be honest, right? Colorless is like okay because it has Fallen Maria, but other than that, like not the best share. Green is just trash. Blue's pretty meh as well. So like the overall banner, I think, is a pretty easy skip, which really, really hurts me to say, obviously, because it's Legendary Elincia's banner. But the only reason why you should be summoning on this banner is if you're going in on red. I think you should skip every other color, snipe red only, and maybe like do colorless when there's no reds. And that's pretty much what I would do if you're going to pull on this banner at all. If not, just skip this banner. We do have the Halloween banner coming up soon, and there's possibility that we get a Fae channel as well, which might have more information on future updates, and possibly even other banners as well. And you have to remember, Elincia will get rerun in the future, so it's possible that she gets a really amazing share then too. So you can always pull her later if you need to. Personally, I will be going to Spark, maybe a little bit farther, because I do have to get at least 1 copy, probably 2 copies of Elincia, just to feel a little bit better about it, even though I still haven't finished off Ascend Elincia quite yet. But now I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of this banner? What do you think of Elincia, most importantly? Do you think she's a crazy powerful unit? Do you expect her to take that role from like Summer Shez or Har, or even our new free-to-play god, Arian? I'd love to hear your opinions, so make sure to drop a comment down below. As always, I'd like to thank my members for all their constant support, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch you all later.